Shalom, shalom. I hope everyone is having a fantastic time. I done already came on today, but since I have a little time, why not come on again and continue to keep this thing rolling, continue to keep this ball rolling. So, I want to talk about the mark that was set up on the forehead of the 144,000. A lot of people don't want to believe the 144,000 has already been chosen about 2,000 years ago. So they're still waiting on a narrative that will never ever happen. They're not able to enjoy the kingdom because they're still waiting on something that's outdated, which is the sealing of the 144,000, as well as being part of the 144,000. The beautiful thing about the 144,000 is they actually knew what tribe they was from. They were not lost people who was wandering or picking and choosing or taking a dart, throwing it at a chart and saying, hey, I might be that tribe, I might be that tribe. That's not what the Bible was all about. It wasn't about confusion. It was all about completion. And the Most High did what he did to make sure that Israel itself would not have to worry about genealogy, but more with the spiritual aspect through Christ. So now, let's walk through the seal on the forehead. Let's just walk through it. Let's see what John the Revelator pulled from in order for us to understand what this seal encompasses and what we are missing when we talk about the 144,000 being sealed, because we're missing some vital information. So let's go to Ezekiel. Let's start in 8, and I'm not going to read the whole 8. I'm going to skip around into 9, but let's see. Ezekiel 8:1. And it came to pass, and y'all see I have the abomination of desolation right there. And it came to pass in the 6th year, and in the 6th month, and in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward fire, and from his loins even upward as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. So right now we see that this person, this being, this deity was made of fire. And we know that the Most High is a consuming fire. But that's why his wrath come in fire. Verse 3, and as he put forth the form of an hand, it took me by a lock of mine head. So look, we have something that looks like a hand grabs Ezekiel by the lock of his head. So some people say it could be braids, it could be dreadlocks, but imagine getting pulled up by the lock of your head. You know what I'm saying? They just grabbed you wherever they wanted to grab you. They wasn't all trying to be all nice and polite with it. But let's keep going on. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. So now, and behold, the glory of God. I don't have to add you, and I'm reading exactly what it says. I'm reading exactly what it says. Sorry, y'all. The brother said I was lying, and I'm just reading exactly what it says. But anyway, I'm going to keep reading. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eyes and the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. So now, he's standing right there before something that caused jealousy, correct? I'm not adding you right now, brother. I'm going through this real fast. If you want to debate or anything, let me know and we can set it up. I have a moderator. But right now, this is not what I'm doing right now. So now, I don't need you to bring me some views or no views, brother. I'll take this and upload it to my YouTube. So, thank you, but no thank you. So now, back to what I was saying. As we see, he went before a door, just like in Revelation we saw John went before a door also. So let's see what he saw in this door. He said, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore to me, Son of man, seest thou what they do? even the great abominations that the house of Israel committed here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary. But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. So now, the Most High took Ezekiel by the locks of his hair. Like I said, some call it braids, some call it dreads. We're not in here to have a hair discussion. So, he took him up by the locks of his head, and he's showing him a vision. And the vision that he's seeing the image that's causing the Most High to be jealous. And the Most High call it the abominations. So what Ezekiel is seeing at his present time in the vision, dealing with Israel, is the abomination of desolation that they had set up before. This is before the thing that went on with Christ when he told them to flee into the mountains when the abomination of desolation set up. So this is a vision that happened way before Christ was on the scene. This is Ezekiel seeing the abomination of desolation that was being set up in his day. But let's keep reading on about this abomination of desolation, because this abomination of desolation is in Jerusalem. So now, let's keep reading. Verse 7, and he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. Remember, once again, these doors are leading places. John the Revelator, he went through a door. And he said unto me, Go in, behold, the wicked abominations that they do here. And I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men in the ancients of the house of Israel. So these 70 men represent the 70 elders that were supposed to be over Israel and partake in all of the things dealing with Israel. So these 70 elders are supposed to be the guides for Israel. But look what these 70 elders are doing. These 70 men of the ancients, which you know, the ancients are the elders of the house of Israel. And in the midst of them stood Jazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imagery? In his mind, their minds are polluted with the abomination of desolations. Everything they're doing, their actions have the abomination of desolation. If you actually do a little research dealing with the sanctuary back then, you see that they was actually bringing in these statues. One of the things that the Most High said, what he commanded was, they was never to bring images of animals inside of the temple. And that's one thing that they did. But let's keep reading. For they, said the Lord, seeth us not. The Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination than they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn ye again, and thou shalt see greater abomination than these. So these are a lot of abominations of desolation presented inside of Israel. So they're weeping for Tammuz, that's dealing with around the time of Easter, which is the Queen of Heaven, and the Queen of Heaven is the mother of Tammuz. So this is all dealing with the things that belong to Nimrod, Tammuz, and the Queen of Heaven, and that idolatry that Israel was concerning them. But let's see verse 16. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple and of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worship the sun toward the east. So now we have sun worshipers, we have Tammuz worshiper, we have sun worshipers, we have all this going inside of Israel. All of these things are happening inside of Jerusalem, inside of the temple. So we're going to see what occurs while these people are doing this inside of the temple. And this is what Revelation pulled what was going on in Revelation from. Because the same exact actions was happening in the same exact place at two totally different timelines. So Revelation is not saying anything new that the prophets of the old had already spoke on. So Revelation might not say Jerusalem or in the temple, but you have to go to the older prophets to see where they was pulling from, or where John the Revelator was pulling from, to explain what he was seeing. And you see that what's going on in Revelation is occurring inside of the temple, inside of Jerusalem. So now, then he said unto me, hast thou, sorry y'all, let me pick this up. My truck is getting unloaded. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? So he's saying Judah don't even care about what they're committing. So once again, this was the southern kingdom in the New Testament. Who was there? The southern kingdom. In Revelation, we see all of Israel being sealed, but we see a lot of things happening with the temple while the southern kingdom was there worshiping. So now, they commit here, they have filled the land with violence and have turned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I deal in fury. Mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry at mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. So now we see the Most High is telling Ezekiel the reason why Jerusalem was fin to be sieged was because of the actions of the southern kingdom. So now listen to how the Most High described this, and then if I have enough time I will parallel it with Revelation. Ezekiel 9:1, he cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. So now we have men coming with weapons. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand, and one man among them was clothed with linen, with the writer's inkhorn by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. So once again, this is happening inside the temple in Jerusalem, and the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub. That means judgment is finna come, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side, and said, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city. What city? Jerusalem. Through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So we have a man, once again, Ezekiel is seeing a vision. He's seeing a vision of the Most High getting ready to put judgment on Israel. So the Most High tells one of the men inside Ezekiel's vision to take ink, we call it pens today, but inkhorn, and go around Jerusalem and mark the foreheads of every man that are crying for the abominations inside of Jerusalem. So, parallel real fast, in Revelation chapter 7, and let's read 1, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead. So do not bring the destruction to these people. Once again, this is the 6th seal in Revelation. All of these are occurring within Judea. Mainly the focus point was Jerusalem and the temple. So don't bring that destruction until we have sealed those people, those servants of God, in their forehead. Let's see if we see the same thing in Ezekiel. Ezekiel 9. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh, that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. So now, what do we have here in Revelation? Revelation 7 and 3, saying, hurt not the sea, nor the earth, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So, just like here, the angels could not have destroyed anybody starting in Jerusalem until they have sealed the servants of God in their forehead. The same thing was here. Destruction could not have occurred upon Jerusalem until after those men that was righteous got sealed. It's happened in the same exact order. First seal, then comes the destruction starting in the sanctuary. What happened in 70 AD? The people, they were sealed, or they fled into the mountains, and when they fled into the mountains, then the destruction was able to come upon Jerusalem, starting at the sanctuary, bringing it inward, outward in, both sides at the same time, dealing with the Roman army. So Rome did the exact same thing that Ezekiel saw in the vision, but Ezekiel only saw a few men, while in the New Testament, under the Roman Empire, it was actually a whole army. But let's see, verse 7. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, and I fell on my face, and cried, and said, O Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel, and thou pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then he said unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and in Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they said, the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. And as for me, mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their heads. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done what thou hast commanded. And as y'all keep reading, you know that only a remnant was supposed to survive this, which was the ones who had their mark on their forehead. Just like in Revelation, only a remnant survived it, which was those that had the mark on their forehead. Everybody else was either destroyed or taken into captivity. So that 144,000, which John the Revelator was talking about, the Most High actually allowed Christ to let him pull that or see the same thing that Ezekiel saw. So he just pulled it straight from Ezekiel. So the people that survived in Ezekiel's time would have been considered the 144,000. The 144,000, the remnant from Israel and Judah, the ones who survived all of the wrath of the Most High in the Old Testament, would have been considered the 144,000. And everybody understand that this judgment came upon Jerusalem and the temple. So in the New Testament, when you have the same thing dealing with judgment and those that survived the judgment, it was something that went against, it was something that went against the temple. It was something that went against Jerusalem. And that 144,000, aka the first fruits, are those Christians in the first century that learned from the apostles. They would be the ones that's considered the 144,000. Nobody today would be the 144,000. The 144,000 was sealed inside of Jerusalem, dealing with the destruction of the temple. You're not going to be able to get around it. So for people that's preaching and teaching and talking about the 144,000 and the 2/3, you're going to be part of the 2/3, and I'm going to be part of the 1/3, and I'm going to be part of the 144,000. And there's no way that the Most High showed me I'm going to be part of the 144,000, but just because I say it, I believe it, and I'm going to teach it. That's not how the Bible works. Neither does not how the New Covenant works, nor the Most High. The 144,000 was chosen in the first century. Those are the ones that followed Christ. Those are the ones that fled into the mountain. Everybody else was either destroyed or taken captive. So there's no 144,000 today. Nobody's been picked today to be 144,000. You are reading a history book on the kingdom of heaven. We are inside the kingdom of heaven where we're supposed to be. Some of us know we are. The other people want to argue and bring up all kind of ridiculous points on how we can't be inside of the kingdom of heaven. But that's another story for another day. Today, we just want to touch 144,000. So, how do we see who the 144,000 is? Well, once again, we can also go to Daniel 12. Daniel 12 shows who the 144,000 is. If you know what you're looking for, you can find 144,000 in Daniel 12. And Daniel 12 actually sets up how you actually find out what event led to the 144,000 escaping. So now, Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered. Everyone, see, not all the people was going to be delivered. Not all people was going to be delivered. Everyone that shall be found written in the book, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. So that's the resurrection right there. So who do you think the 144,000 is? Is the 144,000 the people being resurrected, or the people that escaped that was found written in the book? That would be the people that escaped, found written in the book. That would be the 144,000. Once again, the people that escaped from this time of trouble would be the 144,000, which were the ones that was written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and this happens around the same time of resurrection. So all you do is go into the New Testament and find when this time of trouble occurred, and then you find who the 144,000 is. Simple and plain. So now you just go to the New Testament and find out when that time of trouble was prophesied to happen. So we go straight to the New Testament, Matthew 24. I'm going to read verse 2 and 3 so we can set the tone. Matthew 24, 2 and 3. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Christ is making a prophecy against the temple, against the sanctuary. The same thing we saw in Ezekiel. There was a prophecy that happened against the sanctuary. In fact, the Most High said, start at my sanctuary first with this slaughter. So now we have another prophecy against the sanctuary, or against the temple. Verse 3, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world, or the end of the age? So, we have it right there. This Matthew 24 is about the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So now, let's find that time of trouble. So first of all, we can find that abomination of desolation, which was going on in Ezekiel, which had the Most High ready to destroy the people in the sanctuary. The abomination of desolation, which caused the Most High's wrath upon Israel. So we see that right here. Matthew 24, 15 and 16. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, not readeth this verse, but whosoever readeth Daniel, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So now, do we think everybody fled into the mountains? No. Everybody was not Christians. Everybody did not follow Christ. It was only a remnant of Israel that followed after Christ. All you got to do is read the New Testament. So, with this people that escaped from this destruction, when this abomination occurred, will this people be the ones that have the Most High and the Most High's name and Christ's blessing? Will these people be the ones that have Most High's name written on their forehead? Of course they would. Would these be the people in Daniel that said the people written in the book will escape? Of course this will be the people that escaped. These are the 144,000, the ones that fled into the mountain. But if that's not good enough for you, I said we got to find that time of trouble. So let's find that time of trouble. Matthew 24 and 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So that no, nor ever, that time of tribulation is what we just saw in Daniel 12. Daniel said it the way he wanted to say it, and Christ quoted it the way he wanted to quote it. Daniel quoted it as, there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never since there was a nation, even to that same time. Christ said, there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Daniel prophesied far out in the future, so he said it was that time. Christ prophesied it and let the disciples know, hey, what Daniel spoke about, this is going to be the time around the destruction of Jerusalem. This time, Daniel said that time, Christ said this time. Christ could have easily said that time like Daniel said too, but he's letting the disciples know, hey, this is that moment. Whosoever readeth Daniel would remember. Whosoever readeth Daniel will understand this. So, this is the time that Daniel prophesied about. So, those fleeing into the mountains dealing with the destruction of the temple, that's the time of tribulation. That was the time of Jacob's trouble. That was the time of trouble that has never been since there was a nation. That was the time, not today. Not the transatlantic slave trade, not none of these narratives, the destruction of the temple back then, that was the time. So the 144,000 would be the people who escaped from that tribulation. And when they escaped from the tribulation, when that 144,000 escaped, what did they do? All you got to do is go to Isaiah. And Isaiah tells you exactly what their mission was when they escaped. Isaiah 66, and then I'm going to have to cut out, but Isaiah 66 tells you what happened when the 144,000 escaped from that tribulation. Isaiah 66 and Well, the whole 66 is actually talking about the destruction of the temple 2 and 70 AD. But let's start at 19. And I would set a sign among them, and I would send those that escape. Now, who was going to escape? The 144,000. What Daniel say? The ones that escape are the ones that was found written in the book. So, these are the same people. All prophecies line up. These ain't a whole bunch of different prophecies about different subjects. It's the same subject over and over again about the coming of Christ, 70 AD, the resurrection, 70 AD, the 144,000 sealed, 70 AD, all dealing with the destruction of the temple, the casting away of old covenant, the bringing in of new covenant under the Christian era, under the kingdom age. This is what the whole Bible was leading up to. What we saw in 70 AD, not what we're going through today. Two totally different things. But he said, and I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them into the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they should declare my glory among the Gentiles. In other words, I'm going, when they survived, when they went through the destruction and they fled into the mountains, the 144,000, they were missioned. They had a commission. Their mission was to take the gospel and everything that entails the gospel to the Gentile nations. So this right here destroys that everybody on earth was supposed to see Christ coming back, and everybody on earth was going to mourn, and everybody on earth was going to do this and that. No, the people in Jerusalem was going to do that, not the whole world. This kills that right there. It shows you that it's going to be people after that time that has not seen the glory or has not heard of the reward from the Most High. Those 144,000, their mission was to take that gospel and that understanding to the nations of the Gentiles. That's who the 144,000 was. That's what their mission was. Now, they ended up eventually in Africa, but they did not flee to Africa. They fled to Pella first, and then some of them came back to Jerusalem, which was a big mistake, and a lot of more of them went to the other Gentile nations like they were supposed to, and then the other remnant went to Africa. So the 144,000 did what they were supposed to do. But you have it right here. 144,000 was the ones that escaped. They was the one that was written in the book of life. There's no people destined to be 144,000 today. That's all history, and it's not to take your hope away. This is not meant to take your hope away. This is meant to educate people so they understand how the Most High works and how Christ worked. If you understood that you was in the everlasting kingdom, you wouldn't have to worry about nobody taking your glory or your hope away, because you know that you have the hope and salvation already through Christ. But a lot of people don't want to open their eyes. They want to live on a false narrative that somehow, some way, they are mysteriously the 144,000, and even though they can't tell what tribe they're from, they can make an educated guess, or who knows if it's right or wrong. Nobody really even knows where their great-great-grandparents are, names, or was buried, or any of that stuff. So a lot of people are just, it's a flip of the coin. But this right here is meant to set the record straight, okay? 144,000 already chosen. That's old news. Christ coming back already occurred. His second coming already occurred. The resurrection already occurred. All of these things that people are waiting on already occurred. So you are in a new era and a new age. And I know this is out there to some people, but you got to read your Bible, study your Bible, and understand you have been taught a false narrative. So come back to Christ, come back to the kingdom, and actually learn what you're supposed to be teaching people. And then you can get some things accomplished. You can see the work of the Most High. You can see the work of Christ instead of waiting on a bunch of promises. which we teach other people to wait on a whole bunch of promises. That's why we have all these denominations, all these Israelite groups, and how many people this in Kemet and all this stuff falling from the faith, because people are just saying, wait, wait, wait. But they're waiting on nothing, because it's never going to happen, because it already happened. And I mean, some people should be feeling real silly about that 400-year prophecy, because 2019, we got 6 more months. Let's see what happens. And they don't have my paperwork just yet. No. Sorry, I had the light. I don't know what happened. They called me in here. But anyway, hopefully y'all understand and y'all see that the 144,000 already has been chosen. So, don't let these people teach you a false narrative. They got y'all going to these feast days. They got y'all telling y'all that y'all got to do the Mosaic covenant. But then once you start breaking out the Mosaic covenant, asking them about different laws and how can you do this, how can you do that, and then all of a sudden they don't know. You do it to the best of your ability. Thank you, brother. Hey, man, see y'all, I think, either tomorrow. Okay. But, yeah, they'll tell you, yeah, you got to do this, but you can't do that. And then you ask them, well, how do you spend money? Because you can't be in the Mosaic covenant dealing with usury. And we know that our currency is based off of interest, which is usury. So each time you lend your brother or sisters anything, it's based off of usury. So you cannot do that, because that's against the covenant. And then you got to know your jubilees. You got to know your 7-year Sabbath. You got to adhere to your other Sabbath. So all of the stuff, and it's just little stuff. Do y'all know that they had the ordinances that women could not testify? Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that women could not testify? It didn't matter how many witnesses you had. They didn't want women testifying. So you got to do a lot of stuff to go inside of your culture to understand what's going on. So I'm speaking on the Mosaic covenant, while in the new covenant we got new rules and stuff, but we don't have those rules that we can't do. So I'm just here to tell you what the Bible says. You can take it, leave it. This is a video. You can pause it. You can go through the scriptures yourself. And if I'm wrong, you can come back and say, hey, brother, you wrong because this, and that. Or, hey, brother, you want to debate this, and that. Or, hey, brother, you want to talk about this, and that on the phone. Or you can say, hey, what the brother said is right, man. I want to come learn a little bit more what that brother got going on. And we have Bible classes every Monday, and it's a bunch of us. So, I mean, it is what it is. I love you all. Thank you all for listening. I got to get home. I like to say shalom and go through the scriptures. This is a video, like I said. You can pause it. You can rewind it. You can fast forward it. I'm not going to delete it. It's going to be there. Walk through the scriptures. Every scripture I posted, and you reason with it yourself, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. All right. I like to say shalom. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll put it down eventually somewhere. But, all right. Shalom.